Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this very, very special Facebook Live. I know there are so many of you out there that are really, really keen to hear from Doug. This is Doug. Hi, Doug.
How you going? How you going, Cass?
Oh my goodness, you are in Japan right now, and can I just say how much I am loving that background? Where are you
It's beautiful.
exactly?
Yeah, so I'm at the Royal Park Hotel in Tokyo, and I'm in one of their lovely restaurants that has this beautiful garden that you look onto as well. So yeah, just in a really tranquil spot here in Tokyo in Japan.
Oh my goodness, it is so lovely. It really reminds us of what Japan looks like and feels like just from that background. It's
It's
very,
the
very
quintessential
exciting.
image, isn't it? Yeah,
It
that's
really
yeah, yeah.
It absolutely is. And it's just made me so much more excited about Japan now coming back after three missed seasons. This is really quite a big, big moment for us and for so many travelers. And Doug, you are on our first departure out since the beginning of this troublesome time.
This is our first departure since February or March 2020. So
Yeah.
a lot of false starts in trying to sort of reschedule our passengers, and this is the first one. So it's really exciting to be a part of it.
It really is. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. I know that there's so many of our beautiful customers out there who are keen to hear what is happening in Japan at the moment. So, whether you are watching because you're traveling this year or perhaps you're planning on traveling next year, this is going to be a really, really great opportunity for you to be able to ask Doug some questions. So, go ahead and pop them in the comments and we'll get to as many as we can here today. But I think, Doug, let's start from the top because a lot of people are really, really keen to hear about everything to do with coming to Japan at the moment and more specifically, the visa requirements. So, can you let us know a little bit about what you went through and how you overcome some obstacles there?
Yeah, certainly. So I'll just give you a quite sort of brief rundown of what I've gone through, which is what everyone else will have had to go through on this tour. And I'd just like to sort of say as well that this is specific to this tour, and it's going to be similar probably for our early September departures. Things may and probably will change for October, so just please take this as just a general advice. But basically, I was asked by Inspiring Vacations to join this tour on Tuesday, the 27th of July. So very recently. And within about a week of that, I had all of my documentation ready to go and handed my passport and documentation into an agency. I chose not to use the embassy because we are experiencing delays with getting appointments at the Japanese embassy or consulate in your closest capital city. The delays aren't caused by processing the visas, they're just caused by physically making appointments for enough people to get the visas done. So by using an agency, there are multiple agencies you can use, and they're taking care of the appointment for you. They're telling you what documents you need, which we were doing as well, but they'll just sort of reinforce that and give you reminders. And the processing of the visa itself they advised it could take about 5 working days. It took about less than 2. So it was really, really straightforward, but there are some things you need to have ready to go for it to be a straightforward process. And I might just give a very brief rundown of what they are. So firstly, you'll need an ERFS certificate. ERFS stands for Entrance Returnees Follow-Up System. You'll need your flight details. You'll need a tour run sheet. So basically, essentially a slightly more detailed itinerary than the one you'll get in your documentation. We'll provide that for you. And a naming list as well for the other people on the tour as well. And like I say, the agency that you use, I use Odyssey Travel in the city. The agency that you use will remind you of what you need, as well as, of course, passport photos. Of course, I haven't traveled anywhere in ages, so I didn't have any passport photos. That was one of the things I had to do as well. So that's the first step, Cass, for the visa.
Yeah. So let's just backtrack a little bit because I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page here, of course. So for those who perhaps haven't started looking into the entry requirements for Japan, we certainly do know that we are lucky as Australians to be able to enter Japan as tourists and, of course, business, but more so as tourists is what we're speaking about here today, which is just tremendous. But they have put in place very new restrictions and very new requirements requirements of entry. And that's what Doug is speaking about here today. It's new to us as a company, it's new to travelers, and in fact, it's new to the Japanese government and the consulates here as well, embassies. So it is very new for everybody. And this certificate that Doug is speaking about, these are actually issued on the ground in Japan. Our team work very, very hard to get this all done for you. But what actually happens is individual certificates are sent out via us to everybody on the tour. So in order to make that process a little more streamlined, I would highly recommend anybody who is traveling to Japan for the rest of this year to send to us, Inspiring Vacations, a copy of your passport and a copy of your travel insurance, just so you're a step ahead of the game. Once we have everybody from your tour departure and all of their information on file, and this is where time lapse can be a bit of an issue because we need every single traveler in that group to have sent that through to us, then we can send that list away to ground operations in Japan who put together the individual certificates. As you can see, there's quite a bit that needs to come together just for that first step. And then, as Doug mentioned, it's then back through us. We will send you that certificate, and you will take that along with other requirements, as Doug just mentioned, to suggested agencies. And we send a list of those suggested agencies as well. One thing I do just want to make a quick note of, if I can, please, Doug, before you go on, because I know you've got a lot to say and I appreciate that, is that every state, it seems, has slightly different requirements for different for these visas. Now, this is coming through our operations team, so I am just giving you the message. Losing my thoughts, must be getting late in the afternoon. I don't know how you're doing it, Doug, after a long flight.
I'm just pretending it's earlier than it is, yeah.
That's the way to go. That's the way to go. So some requirements can be a little bit different for each state. So please bear with us as we work through that. Now that we've got the first group into the country successfully, thank you, Doug, for being there, we now know what is required and everything moving forward will be a lot more streamlined. But again, let's help your fellow travelers and yourself to get your visa by having those passports and insurance details to us as soon as possible. So once you've got that certificate, Doug, and you're ready to go, was there anything else that you found needs to be communicated here with our customers today?
Yeah, so basically the two main differences between what travel to Japan was like previously and what it is like now are the visa, which we've covered, and also immigration and customs, which you fill out in advance via an app. So that will save you a lot of time when you arrive into Japan. It's all very streamlined. If you've completed all that before you arrive, there are still 2 papers that you'll need to fill out on the plane, which I advise doing as soon as you sit down, so they're done. But basically, you download an app called My SOS, and there's a questionnaire, and you have to upload various documentation, which I'll outline in just a moment. And once that's all been accepted, it generates a QR code, and it's all very seamless when you arrive in Japan. So first thing you need to do to travel to Japan is have your 3rd dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. All of the vaccines available in Australia are acceptable to Japan, most commonly AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna, etc. If they're available in Australia, they're acceptable in Japan. So you'll need to do that. Make sure you have your 3rd dose. You'll also need to get your international COVID vaccine certificate. And that's a very simple process as well. You do that via the Medicare app. And it says it can take 10 days, but for me, it was instant. And you just simply upload that via an image or PDF. And that's something else you have to upload to this app. And thirdly, you have to provide a negative COVID PCR test that has to be taken no earlier than 72 hours prior to arriving in Japan. So for me, I've arrived here this morning, Thursday morning. I took that on Monday. Now, that can't just be any PCR. It has to be an international travel PCR and one that is specifically for Japan. So if you use, again, similar to the visas, similar to the agencies, we will provide you with a list of clinics that provide you with that official Japan COVID-19 test documentation, which then is seamlessly uploaded to your app, and then that's done. So there are a lot of steps you need to do, but actually arriving in Tokyo is very straightforward. It's a bit more time consuming than it used to be, but very straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Doug. We've just got a couple of questions that I want to get to while we're on this subject before we move on. Thank you, everybody, for asking your questions. It's such a great opportunity to do so while Doug is in Japan and experiencing everything firsthand. So, Maxine, thank you for your question. It says, will Inspiring provide info, re the agencies to use for visas? Yes, absolutely. We have been sending out lists with the certificates, so you can go ahead and find your closest agency and visit them, and they'll be able to assist you like they have done for Doug. And that is for all states, of course. Jen, thank you so much for your question here. Do we just email passport and travel insurance to you or upload it to your site? Please email it to us. If you reply to an email that we've sent you, it will go straight to us and it will attach to your file, which is the most effective way to do that. If you're unsure, you can email us with your booking number to support@inspiringvacations with an s.com, and we will receive that one as well.
I've just seen the question from Jennifer as well. I possibly didn't make myself clear. The 2 forms you get on the plane are physical forms, so you can just fill those out with a pen or a pencil, or probably a pen, I'd imagine. So the app is obviously a digital thing that you do before you depart, but the 2 old-fashioned forms you get on the flight, they're just paper forms.
Excellent. So uploading to the app prior to departure from Australia, and then forms on the plane, pen as.
And when you arrive into, certainly it was my experience in Narita, I'm sure it's the case in other Japanese airports, there's Wi-Fi there as well for the app.
Yes.
So if you haven't generated your QR code yet, which I actually hadn't because it was accepted, you can do that there as well.
Oh, excellent. Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. So, Doug, I think everybody is also really, I think we've answered the questions. Does anybody have any last minute questions about visas and requirements?
I think there are a few that I saw before, so let me just bring those up.
Excellent.
Yeah, so another question we've got here from Jeannie. I would like to know the changes for the free time allocated on the itinerary. Do we still have free time? I might take that one on notice. Just because officially there is no free time allowed in accordance with your visa. But in terms of how that actually works, I might take that one on notice and report back, because I'm not sure it's as strict as perhaps, you can't leave the hotel under any circumstances. You can't go to, a tourist attraction without a guide. But can you go over the street to go to a service, to a convenience store? I think probably can. I've only just got here, so I'll take that one on notice, Jeannie.
Let's keep watching the socials there, because you'll keep updating us, Doug, as you find out more information. And I think that some more of these questions will be answered as we go through, because I'm looking at them now as well, because what we want to know, I guess, is, what's changed on your itinerary. So in order to get the visa, we are aware that free time is not allowed. You have to be on an escorted tour. But what actually has changed for your itinerary?
Yeah, so I think we had some more questions from Maxine, unless it's a different Maxine. So she said, what happens for the 4 free days on the itinerary? Now, I'm guessing, Maxine, you're not on a tour that's about to depart, so you probably won't have been told about any changes. But for those that have been changed, there's essentially no free time, so it is more inclusive. There are no more optional tours anymore. It's basically just everything is included, and that includes transfers. So I was picked up with another sort of 8 or 9 people this morning. I think we have another 20 about to arrive, and then another 10 or so. So there were 3 transfers arranged for today's arrivals. So those are included, and they will be at a cost as an amendment, but they're things that you would have had to pay for anyway. We're just doing them for you in accordance with the requirements. But yeah, in terms of, like, for example, our itinerary is very, very chock-a-block from pretty much 8 till 8 every day. It's leaving 8 o'clock, and then either dinner while we're out with the group and back at the hotel at 8, or dinner at the hotel past 8 o'clock. I'm not sure whether you're allowed to sort of go for a drink. I'm not entirely sure on that. So it's not actually black and white. So yeah, I'll take that on notice, and I'll be giving updates throughout the tour, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. And I know that Jeannie also had a question about, the end of her trip, her particular itinerary has got some independent travel as it has. And I know the one that you're talking about as well, Jeannie. I appreciate that. How will this be handled? Look, I really think, Doug, you'll agree with me that it does depend on when you're due to travel. At the
Exactly.
moment, we're really focused on the September departures and then, of course, October. Who knows when this may or may not change, where these restrictions may or may not be lifted. We're a little bit in the same boat as you, and Doug's, reason for being there. Well, there's a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons Doug is there right now is just to work out exactly what that looks like and exactly how it's being managed on the ground. If Jeannie, if we were to answer you and you were traveling, in the next departure, that free time would now be escorted because the government is not allowing, it's not a matter of us not wanting to do it, it's the government is not allowing independent travel at this time. So that would become an escorted element. But as Doug mentioned, as the departures are coming out, we will have amended itineraries out to all of our travellers, and there will be an associated additional cost with that, of course, because we are adding additional features, including transfers. That makes sense. And we are more than happy to walk you through all of that, of course. But I'm really looking forward to how you find it as well, Doug. It's going to be really interesting. Whether, you're having dinner apps. I noticed another question here, and I think it was from Maxine. Forgive me if it was from somebody else that spoke about, do we have to have dinner with the group every night? And that's a really interesting question as well, Doug.
So yeah, straight away I can answer that. If it's, again, in accordance with the itinerary, if it's dinner out and about before we return back to the hotel, then yes, they'd have to be in a group. But back at the hotel, it's not like hotel quarantine where you have to be in your room. You're welcome to have dinner. There's several restaurants at this hotel. You're welcome to have dinner at any of those restaurants today, because today is just an arrival day without any activities. But that doesn't mean we have to be with the group at all times. So there is still some flexibility at the hotel.
Right. So in other words, if you wanted to go and dine with your traveling companion away from the group in the hotel, because that's where you have to be, that would be acceptable as far as we know at this point. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I see Jeannie actually is traveling in October. Thank you for letting us know. We are currently working on the September departures, but you are not going to be far behind, and we'll be able to give you an update on your itinerary as well. But let's get ahead of the game and send through those passports and insurance details to our team so that they can start working on everything for us. I'm just wanting to check out some more questions here. Jennifer, I don't know if you'll have this answer for us yet, Doug, but perhaps you will. Jennifer asks about cash. She was looking to use the TravelX card, wanting to know how acceptable that is, wanting to know the currency that's most used, of course, if you could answer from what you know so far.
So I mean, my own personal kind of strategy with money is to try and use card as much as possible. I have got a sense from just the short time I've been here that cash is used more than it is in Australia, but that's not to say that card isn't available everywhere. So if you do like using cash, there are ATM machines you can use. I think the yen is, I just got here, I think it's either 100 or 1,000 to $1. In context, it'll make sense, and it's pretty much exactly. So it's very easy to work out. I think it's pretty much exactly 1 to 1. So you can use cash if you want. I'll be using card as much as I can. I've told my bank that I'm away, so there shouldn't be any issues there. But if you want to have some cash in reserve, then you can get some before you leave, or there's plenty of ATMs to use.
Yeah. I agree with that. And actually, when I traveled just recently in June myself, you can just notify your bank via your banking app, in fact, and let them know that you're traveling overseas so that they don't think to shut your card down, which I appreciate. So be sure to do that. Be sure to do that. Jen has mentioned in a comment here, Doug, and I hope this is okay that we're jumping around a bit, but I think it's good to answer them. She's flying in October and transiting in Osaka to go up to Sapporo is questioning what it would be like to go from the international to the domestic terminal. What did you see at the airport?
At the airport, at international to domestic, there was a bit of a queue there, but I don't know how long it would have been on the other side of that queue, because it was a bit like sort of a maze. So it was hard to tell what that would have been like. But again, I guess for October, it is still a little bit academic anyway, because we're not sure what the requirements will be by then. But I did see a domestic transfer queue with people in it, so it is happening. Whether or not there'll be any changes to that tour come October, we'll have to see. But
certainly, I agree with that, and I think that when you're in the confines of the airport, you are not yet, out on tour. If you're transiting to another airport to then meet a tour director, I imagine that that's going to be okay. But let's not imagine. Let's get the actual information, and we'll have that for you in due course there, Jen, as we work through to the October departures. Christine has mentioned that she's paid for extra dinners and market tours, and what will happen with those? And Christine, just to clarify, I believe what you're referring to is some optional excursions. Which is wonderful. They're escorted anyway, and so most likely, and depending on the itinerary, and that's always going to be the, asterisk moment. Everything is very individual. They will be going ahead. Now, if it means that the rest of the tour needs to do the optionals as well to stay in the escorted framework, then the additional guests will obviously have additional costs that will need to be incurred in that regard. But you won't miss out unless for some reason it can't be escorted, and then our operations team will be in touch, and you're traveling in October as well. And it feels close. I understand it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but we certainly are working on everything as we understand the framework to be. Maxine's come back to a money question, which I appreciate. Is it possible to exchange either AUD or USD cash for yen at the hotel?
Look, I'm not sure about the hotel because I haven't tried that, but certainly nearby, like I say, there are places you can do that, because cash is used a little bit more commonly than in Australia. So there are plenty of opportunities to exchange and to withdraw cash.
Doug, do you think that while you're away, you could just take a chance to ask a couple of the hotels? And
certainly, I'll have a look at all these questions, and I'll when I get a chance, I'll maybe just actually reply to those as well.
Yeah. I think that's going to be really awesome. Thank you so much. Alan, what's the weather like in Tokyo right now? I love that question.
When we landed, it was basically underwater. It was very humid, about 30 degrees at 8 in the morning, and it was just torrential rain. But now the sun's out, so it's they have very sort of humid summers here. I don't remember the Olympics last year. It was sort of quite hot and humid. It was last year, wasn't it? Yeah, it was around this time of year. So very hot and humid. So, kind of bursts, and then it's hot again, and then it's rainy. But basically 30 degrees every day, I think, is the forecast for when we're here, which is a nice change from Melbourne. It's been a cold winter.
Think North Queensland weather.
Yeah, very much so. Very much.
Nice. Okay, so Maxine's asked about optional tours. She hasn't booked any because she doesn't want to do any of them, and I completely and absolutely understand that. If we have times where we do have to be out and escorted, then let's say that there's free time, we can't just let, at this point, from the regulations that we understand it to be, we can't say please go out and have free time. It does need to be escorted when going outside of the hotels. The easiest way to do that for one tour guide is as a group, and that is certainly the changes that we're making to our itineraries. That said, if you don't particularly want to go that day and you want to stay in your hotel, there's nothing stopping you from staying in the hotel, but you would be confined to the hotel. It's a bit of a tricky question to answer, and until we have that itinerary updated for you, Maxine, it's a bit of a tricky one.
Just want to really clarify that what I'm talking about now is the case it is now in August and most likely early September, well, almost certainly. But for October and beyond, we just don't know yet. If these stay the same, these restrictions, then it's applicable. But let's just sort of wait and see, because this is actually a trial. This is not how it is to travel to Japan indefinitely. This is the first trial of their reopening borders to tourists, and that trial is just for escorted tour groups. But that is not supposed to be an indefinite phase. It is the first trial of their reopening process. So let's just wait and see for October. I just see a question as well from Marge. Look, I mean, officially, yes, but I don't think so. But yeah, in terms of how much free time you actually have, I'll take that on notice and maybe give you a better update in a few days.
Yeah, I think that that's wonderful, Doug. Really appreciate you, coming in live from beautiful Japan. Love that background. Cannot wait to see all of your pictures and videos. Please follow Doug on socials if you're really keen to see what Japan.
It'll all be on the Inspiring Vacation socials. Yeah, so it'll all be through. So obviously you're watching us on Facebook now. There'll be plenty on here, but also our Instagram page, Inspiring Vacations, as well.
That's wonderful, Doug. And Doug will continue to answer your questions along his journey. He'll come back to you as well on this page here and reply to comments as he finds more information out. But that was really wonderful. Thank you for telling us about that process and your experience on arrival, Doug. We look forward to watching you as you continue to explore what is a really incredible country. And we're so lucky as Australians that we can be there and tour, right?
I'm really lucky and really excited. Can't wait.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Doug. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Cass, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Thank you.
Bye-bye.